This deck that I'm about to showcase is based on a previous video I made called the Code Gate Conundrum. Some of you might have seen it. For those of you who haven't tuned into it, be sure to not catch it because it's rife with errors and it proves how much of an idiot that I can come off to be if my words do not get processed by my brain at all. So, but for those of you who tuned in, this deck, what it basically does is to play all the annoying ice packed into one Glacier package under the name of Blue Sun that strives to tax the runner to oblivion with all the most annoying ice of today's meta game. It basically wins by brute force by using the nastiest ice in the game combined with each other. So in the Code Gate Conundrum video, I talked about 3 of the most annoying code gates in the game that create the code gate problem where most runners have no solution to all 3 code gates efficiently. And that is Lotus Field, Toll Booth, and Wormhole, which I didn't show in this little graphic here. My deck packs all 3 of them, 2 copies of each of the Lotus Field and Toll Booth, and a single Wormhole. Almost all of the competitive corp archetypes today involve some sort of taxation. There's horizontal taxation, as is the case with Nair Fast Advance and Replicating Perfection. For this case, for this deck, it is vertical taxation, because all the eyes are just so tanky. So I'm up against Noise, and so no matter what the matchup is, one of my first goals is to always scout out the deck, try to see what kind of breakers they're running, and adapt to the situation by pulling out all those eyes that annoy them the most and use them to protect either my centrals or remotes. So here we begin, and the runner immediately makes a mistake off the bat. He runs to face check my ice. I happily res a Caduceus against him. Even though everyone plays Mimic nowadays, Caduceus is still good. It's still a 2 credit tax even with Mimic out. And against the Zero Link runners, which people are starting to play more nowadays with Max, Leela Patel, and even Chaos Theory. I've been seeing a couple of them. And Noise too. They are all Zero Link, which means that Caduceus, when fired off without a breaker, does so much work. He gave me 3 free credits, which meant that Caduceus was free to res. And because I'm Blue Sun, I can bounce Caduceus back, which means I effectively gained 3 credits from Trace, and he didn't even bother accessing. In fact, I drained all of his credits because, not all, but most of his credits because he ran into the data pipe thereafter. So he's in a very horrible position right now. Immediately, his early runs obtained 0 accesses, and instead he lost credits while I gained credits. So right off the bat, he's in a very disadvantaged position. But I did not start with any burst economy aside from the restructure that you see in my hand, so I need to wait a couple more turns before I can fire off the restructure. That is something I'm definitely looking to do. But for now, it looks like my Caduceus and Data Pipe are safe. Safely guard my 2 important centrals, so I can slowly work my way towards the restructure. And just as I say that, he installs a data sucker, reminding me that I need to guard my archives as well. 2 protected centrals isn't enough. I have to place ice on archives, otherwise he'll get agenda snipes off there. Well, he didn't get an agenda, he got my Jackson Howard, 1 of 3, so I'm not too happy about that. But it's fine because I'm playing Blue Sun with Executive Bootcamp, so I know that I can tutor up Jackson Howard at any moment's notice. To reshuffle my Jackson Howard in my heap, in my archives back into my stack, or R&D rather. So yeah, and the Executive Bootcamp's on the board now, so I'm actually feeling pretty good. I wasn't able to fire off my restructure just yet, but what I managed to do is to get a Curtain Wall Oversight combo off, which he couldn't disrupt with a David. So I managed to get the Curtain Wall money, and a huge burst thereafter brings me up to 27 credits. He's only on 3 credits. He's gonna get Sea Scorched. Well, no, he's not. I'm not playing Flatline. This is pure Glacier. But I've definitely annoyed him a whole lot because now there are no centrals which he can run to accumulate data sucker tokens with. He only has 1 sucker token. Thankfully, he made 1 run earlier on, otherwise he would have no sucker tokens at all. But that's good for me. He can insta-parasite any ice that has 1 strength or less, but I'm not running any such ice. No ice walls in my deck. The lowest strength is Data Pipe with 2. Good enough to protect my servers. Alright, here I begin constructing my remote because I need to score the priority requisition quickly. As such, I actually chose to sacrifice defense over archives, which could be a mistake. Not because he might mill my agendas, because you saw me tutor my Jackson Howard with Executive Bootcamp, so I wasn't concerned about agendas in the heap as is happening right now. He just made a Project Atlas with the Parasite installed. I'm not concerned about that. What I'm concerned about is him getting free data sucker tokens, which he's about to do. Here I asked him whether he wanted to take his action of installing Parasite back. I have no idea what he's trying to do here, because he should know that I'm Blue Sun. I can bounce back Caduceus anytime. He's not going to destroy my Caduceus anytime soon. He has 2 pure sucker tokens for that. So he does confirm that that was an intentional move, probably because he wanted to force an agenda into the heap, but he knew that I have Jackson Howard in my remote because I tutored it with Bootcamp, so I'm not sure about that here. So what I do is to reshuffle the Atlas and bounce the Caduceus, destroying the Parasite. Now I protect both my centrals, and I slot my priority requisition in the remote, taking advantage of the psychology that runners and typically Noise are reluctant to run on remote servers against Wayland, when what could be in there is merely an Ash, or a Jackson, or an Executive Bootcamp, or some sort of money. It's almost always not worth it, and given that he has almost no breakers out, yeah, he's not going to bother with it. So this is good, because I do not want to res my toll booth or data pipe on my remote against him. That's going to set me back a lot of credits. I want to define my remotes, and that's what I'm going to do here. He runs into the Caduceus in my hand, or protecting my HQ. He fires off the first trace, lets me get 3 credits. The second trace, I boost it by 1. This is a very tactical decision. He has 5 credits. It costs him 3 to get through, to beat the trace, which he does. This leaves him on 2 credits, which means he cannot trash my Jackson Howard. Absolutely intentional. But this does leave him enough credits to tutor a Parasite, and he's on 3 data sucker tokens, so that's exactly what he does. So perhaps I should have increase the trace by 1 more. I don't think so. This is good enough. I was able to tax him, because if I trace for an additional 2, bringing the trace to 4, he would simply jack out. It will deny him a data it would have denied him a data sucker token, but my Caduceus was going to fall sooner or later. So that was okay. Here, I finally decide to advance my priority requisition. So you saw me bounce back the curtain wall there. The reason is quite simple. I want to res the curtain wall with priority requisition. Hence, I bounced it back. Otherwise, bouncing it back was a waste of a click that I could have spent installing an Ash, installing a Jackson, or drawing out even to protect my HQ. But I want to get the most out of my priority rec, and the best way to do that is to de-res the curtain wall, so I can re-res it with priority requisition. So now he shows me his breaker, which is a very good news for me. And that is one very unfortunate thing. When you play Knight like this, you are completely telegraphing your abilities to the corp, so they can play around you better. Now that I know he runs Knight, I'll be sure to place more eyes on my remote, so when I score an agenda, he won't be able to contest it. And that's a very severe limitation. Playing Knight in a deck with Wildside, you really don't have enough clicks to get through a server when you most need to. Not without deep red anyway. So I'm going to abuse the fact that he's at 2 credits to score the next agenda. There is no way he's going to be able to get through a toll booth into a data pipe short of Crypt System hack. Even then, he only has 3 clicks to get all of that on the table, and he very nearly came quite close. He was able to install a Cache to go up to 5 credits, a David, and if he had 1 more click there, he could have bounced the Knight somewhere and began running. But yeah, he wouldn't have enough credits anyway. He gave me that scoring window due to being poor, and I leveraged on that to score the Hades fragment. And that basically ends his game, because he cannot win through Noise Mill anymore. I can bounce back 1 card from Archives every turn back to R&D, so I probably will never get decked, and I can stash all my agendas back into R&D. Sadly, scoring the agenda took up all of my time, which meant that I couldn't protect HQ, and as a result, I lost my 2nd copy of Jackson Howard. no big deal. Hades' fragment will do all the work for me that I need, that Jackson usually does. And he's poor now that he decided to trash my Jackson Howard, which means that I can my Ash is safe. I can use the Ash to further fortify my remote. So as you see here, Toll Booth is a very effective ice against noise. Even though he has a David out, I know that he needs at least 3 credits to make a run on my remote every single time. He almost certainly cannot be the Ash Trace, which means that if he wants to contest anything in my remote, he has to run twice. Which means he needs at least 6 credits to get through Toll Booth, even with a David out. And there's still a data pike that's waiting for him at the end of the remote. So this gives me a lot of assurance that scoring in my remote is safe. This is why Toll Booth is such a good piece of ice, and this is why it contributes to the Code Gate conundrum. Another piece of ice that will be very effective against noise, which I just saw him mill, is none other than the Lotus Field. Now he can get past Lotus Field for just 2 credits with Knight, but this is Blue Sun, don't forget. I can bounce Lotus Field back and destroy his Knight. So Lotus Field therefore makes a very good defense on a central server. If he wants to get into that central server, he needs to hop his Knight on the Lotus Field. That would cost him his Knight. He will only get 1 turn's worth of access from the Lotus Field server at the most. His other solution to Lotus Field is Crypsis. That's 5 credits to get through a Lotus Field that costs 5 to res. I don't mind. That's a worthy trade any day. So you see all these nasty code gates are really anti-noise. There's not much you can do about them. Since I found my other copy of Lotus Field, as I said, I happily plant it on the central server. That will almost certainly keep him out from running across multiple turns. Now he does find another David of his, but I don't really care because I draw into my winning agenda the Project Atlas. And what's amazing about Project Atlas in a Glacier deck, no one expects it. Most Glacier decks like RP Glacier, and HB Glacier don't run 3-2 agendas. They run lots of 5-3s and 4-2s. Here, you definitely want to run Atlas, and it can be sneaked out over a remote, and they won't expect it. They won't see it coming. If they do, so much the better, because it baits them into running your horribly taxing remote, which is a win for you anyway. So now he's desperately installing his medium, and he wants to lock down my R&D. He's only getting through once. That curtain wall can only be broken by David so many times. This is the second David he has expended. Now, I'm kind of worried about the data sucker tokens. There are 9 data sucker tokens. He needs 1 more, and he can begin destroying my curtain wall with Parasite. But that doesn't matter, because firstly, I've won the game. Secondly, my other 2 central servers were protected, both by Crisium Grid and Cyberdeck's Virus Suite. So R&D really was his only route of getting data sucker tokens there. I didn't expect him to get through so many times, getting through R&D, but he was not going to get enough data sucker tokens to crash and burn my curtain wall. So speaking of Parasite, it's seeing play in lots and lots of decks nowadays thanks to the advent of RP and Nerf Hub. If you are looking to nullify those parasites that most runners are so reliant on, look no further than Blue Sun Glacier. There are virtually no other co-ops that can deny the power of Parasite the way that Blue Sun can. What I enjoy about this deck is that it's not just a boring Glacier deck where you install ice and advance agendas. There are loads of subtle gameplay decisions that can drastically affect the outcome. Most importantly is the bouncing of ice with Blue Sun, but there's also the use of Executive Bootcamp. Both of the abilities, you saw me use this game to trigger ice rezzing and to tutor up an asset. Very important decisions, timing, and the choice of what to do proves crucial in preventing the runner from accessing your agendas. Thanks for watching and happy net running.